Welcome to The Walk. Let me ask you a question. Do you ever pray? Now let me ask you a second question. Do you ever get frustrated when you pray? I have to admit, sometimes it's difficult for me to talk to God when I feel like nobody is ever talking back to me. There are a lot of people who have no doubt made the assumption that God doesn't speak to us at all, that He doesn't communicate, period. And yet, the Bible indicates that communication between Jesus and His followers is actually a big deal, that there's a total communication role that has to happen between Jesus and His followers. Jesus gives the following teaching parable in John chapter 10. He said, "The shepherd walks right up to the gate. The gatekeeper opens the gate to him, and the sheep recognize his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he gets them all out, he leads them, and they follow because they are familiar with his voice." In this parable, Jesus is talking about himself when he talks about the shepherd. And he's talking about you and me when he describes the sheep. And he talks about the way that the sheep hear the voice of their shepherd. Now, in this teaching, there's a couple of things that are kind of important. The first is he refers to the way that the sheep first come to hear and know the shepherd's voice. Think about it. What was the first thing you heard Jesus really say to you? According to this passage of scripture, it was when we realized, each of us, that He was calling us by name. Each and every one of us have a totally unique journey that we've walked. It's different for each of us, how we have come to this moment on our walk with Him. How did you get to the place where you believed He existed, where you trusted Him with your life? For each of us that may be different, but the one thing that we all have in common is at some point we heard His voice. We sensed that He was real, and we sensed that He cared for us. Think about that. What did that journey look like for you? What transpired and took place for you to have that awareness that He was calling you by name? What Jesus is saying in this passage of scripture is that each and every one of us on a constant, almost daily basis need to remember what that process was like. That's a totally different type of communication than what we hear when we go into a restaurant and the wait person comes up to us and says, "Would you like fries with your order?" God speaks in a different way to you and I. We need to listen in a different way to hear God's voice. If you and I will start a daily practice of listening for Him in the same way that we originally heard Him call us by name, then we will start hearing Him speak to us and communicate with us about all of the aspects of our lives that are so important in us having a relationship with Him. We'll hear Him call us again by our name. Say, "Hey, hello, it's me, Jesus. Let's go this way for the next leg of the journey. This is the right path to take for your life to be all that it can be."